So when Miss Lawrence fired the gun through the door, she did so knowing a person was directly on the other side of the door.
A judge hands down a near life sentence for this Florida woman convicted in the shooting death of her neighbor.
I can only tell you I have cried and I feel horrible for my actions. Please accept my humble and sincere apology for this tragedy.
The victim, a black mother of 4, who was shot and killed by this woman through a locked metal door.
I'm still trying to grasp and cope with the fact that my daughter, my baby girl, is lying 6 feet underground, breathless, lifeless, and will never be with us again.
I'm Gillespie, and this is Law and Crime News. Now, this is a case we've covered for more than a year. It's one that captivated the nation with its shocking details and devastating outcome. The defendant is 60-year-old Susan Lorincz, who became known as the Florida Karen. She repeatedly called the police on the kids in her neighborhood, mostly for playing in the vacant lot next to her home.
I don't want to be intimidated by them screaming and yelling at me, telling me I'm a calling me Karen. They're calling me names. Really, we're going to, devolve to this simple bullying. I don't want to face this.
Starting in February 2022, the Marion County Sheriff's Office began receiving calls from Lorincz, reporting the kids in her Ocala, California neighborhood were just too loud.
What's going on this evening?
Lots of children screaming their full heads off, running around. I had my truck parked in front here, so I didn't have to listen to the screaming and yelling. As soon as I moved the truck, the kids are coming up. I'm like, guys, stop. They know they're not supposed to be over here. They've been told many times. They've previously stolen the trespassing sign.
There are dozens of hours of body camera video just like this. Lorincz calling emergency responders to basically complain about her neighbors and their kids. Lorincz found the most issue, though, with Ajike or AJ Owens. It all culminated on June 2nd, 2023, when Lorincz fatally shot Owens through a locked door.
Show me your hands! Show me your hands! Turn around! Turn around! Where's your gun at?
You got hands? You got hands?
You're going to be detained for
Is there anybody else in the house?
Lorincz had already called emergency responders when she fired the shot, saying she feared for her life. But Owens never tried to enter the home. This point was highlighted at Lorinc's trial this summer that ended with a sweeping verdict.
Verdict as to count 1. We, the jury, find as to count 1 of the charge. The defendant is guilty of manslaughter. Did the state prove beyond a reasonable doubt that during the commission of the offense, the defendant personally used a firearm? Yes. So say we all, dated the 16th day of August, 2024.
Because she was found guilty on the manslaughter charge, Lorincz faced a maximum of 30 years in prison for her crime. Before her sentence was handed down on Monday, the court heard a range of testimony, beginning with a statement from Ajike Owens' own mother.
My name is Pamela Dias. I am the mother of Ajike Owens, who was shot and killed by Susan Lorincz. I stand before you with the burden of articulating and conveying the depth of our grief and the trauma that Susan Lorincz inflicted on our lives. And to also share the devastating impact that Susan caused when she fatally shot my daughter, Ajike Owens, on June 2nd of 2023. It is virtually impossible to convey all of the ways Susan has devastated our lives from the onset of the proceedings. Susan was bold and brazen. When the guilty verdict was read, Susan shrugged her shoulders as to say, oh well. If she showed a modicum of remorse, it was not for Ajike. It was not for my 4 grandchildren. It was for her own selfish reasons. Susan Louise Lorincz was unanimously found guilty of manslaughter by use of a firearm by a jury of her peers for shooting Ajike through a locked metal door. For the pain, the suffering, the life-altering consequences of Susan's heinous actions that have been inflicted on our lives. I am begging you, I am pleading that you hold Susan fully accountable for her actions.
After this emotional statement, the judge heard from those closest to Lorincz, including her sister Ellen.
Does your family have a history of mental health issues?
Yes.
Ellen described the Lorincz family history, saying their mother suffered from depression and their brother was a violent alcoholic. Their father was a concentration camp survivor that in adult life became a drunk who abused both daughters.
My father had been raping me since the time I was about 4 years old. And he beat us a lot when we were younger, especially.
What was your father's name?
Stephen Lorincz.
When did your father begin abusing you and Susan?
I guess he started with Susan before I was born. And then after I was born, he waited till I was like 3-4 years old before he started doing whatever to me. I really don't remember it because I've kind of pushed it out of my mind.
And did he sexually abuse both you and Susan starting at a young age?
Yes, he did.
Was your father psychologically abusive as well?
Absolutely.
In what way?
He constantly told us that we were fat and stupid. We were ugly. I mean, just any kind of derogatory thing he could think of to call us.
According to her sister, Susan Lorincz survived all this trauma and even helped raise her nephew who had disabilities.
Do you have a son?
Yes, I do.
And what is his name?
Gabriel Michael Lorincz Dunn.
Is Susan and Gabriel very close?
Very.
How would you describe their closeness, their relationship?
He absolutely adores her, and she's like a second mom to him.
Does Gabriel suffer from disabilities and mental health issues?
Yes, he does.
What kind?
My son was born legally blind. He can see with glasses, but he still has vision issues. I mean, his vision's still not, even with the glasses, he's still not 100%. He also has autism. He has ADHD and ODD, which is oppositional defiance disorder.
How has Susan helped you with your son?
Oh, she would take him on the weekends so that I could get a break and, just get myself together. And she absolutely loved him. She took him all over the place, and he had a blast with her.
Following this testimony, a licensed psychologist spoke to the court, describing Lorintz's post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD diagnosis.
Ms. Lorincz was cooperative with me, but I also sensed that she had difficulty about talking about certain things. She's a very private person, and she's really not used to talking about this very painful thing. She's very ashamed of having been the victim of psychological trauma. Even though it's not her fault, she has internalized that guilt. And she didn't want to talk too much about her relationships and things like that. And you could tell that she was getting fatigued towards the end of the sessions. And she's like, when are we going to be done, kind of thing, because she was experiencing pain.
Was she very remorseful in regard to Miss Owens and her passing away?
To me, she expressed, especially in the last 2 times that I saw her, that when she looks at this rationally, right, she said to me, I now realize that she was like a mama bear, taking care of her kids. And that's how I see her now. But that's not what I saw that day. It would be my opinion that yes, that her ability to appreciate the criminality of her conduct or to confirm her behavior would be substantially impaired because she's perceiving that her life is in danger. She's perceiving that the locked door with a bolt will not hold. and that Miss Owens is going to victimize her. She describes shaking, she describes being overcome by fear. And in that moment, there is a lack of consideration for what's going to happen next. Her thoughts are very simplistic and focused on getting out and being on survival mode.
Now, some may argue that Miss Lawrence's actions on that day were an overreaction of what was occurring. Would her having post-traumatic stress disorder affect how she viewed and saw the event and any overreaction that she had?
Yes, so definitely PTSD is going to rewire us, reshape the way in which we look at the world.
Hey, so I'm gonna take a guess and say a lot of you who watch our videos might be business owners, maybe even some sort of side hustle you're trying to build. That's why I have to talk to you about our sponsor, Odoo. It's a free all-in-one business management software that provides you with a range of apps that help with the day-to-day of owning a business. One of my personal favorite Odoo apps is their project apps. There are multiple views in this project app, like the Kanban view. That one helps you organize tasks by stage. Or there's the Gantt view. That gives you a timeline of your tasks. It seriously makes things so simple and easy to organize. Also in this projects app, you can directly bill your customers according to time spent on tasks, which is just a big time saver. Right now, you can click our link, odoo.com/LCnews14, and try Odoo and their projects app for free today. Before a sentence was handed down, Susan Lorincz herself made a statement to the court. For the first 3 minutes, she spoke about past medical ailments before bringing the discussion finally to Ajike Owens.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
I'm making a statement so you understand my actions and my reasoning the night of the shooting. My medical disabilities. I've had 25 knee surgeries on my right knee. Ended up having multiple replacements and then a catastrophic failure due to an allergy. I went back to have another knee replacement and I was burned during surgery. And so I had gotten very ill and my knee literally goes backwards. I had a laminectomy of my lumbar spine from the accident in 2019. I was back-ended at a stoplight, and there was a horrible complication. My dura from my spinal cord actually healed onto my actual spine. So when they went to do the correction, give it a little more space, the dura tore. I was leaking cerebral spinal fluid, and he had to do an actual spinal cord repair. They didn't know if I would walk again from that. I've also had left with nerve damage to my lower legs and feet and have diminished feeling and numbness. And I've fallen twice because of this. And I fell the first time in 2019 and had sustained internal injuries. I had bruised my lung and I had gotten a ganglion cyst on my right wrist. The second fall was November 2022. I fell because I walked into a bathroom, the light was supposed to come on and it never came on, and there was a toilet paper roll with the actual cylinder inside. And so it rolled out from under my foot and I fell backwards. And I had torn my rotator cuff and muscles in my left shoulder. The 2019 accident also impacted my cervical spine, and I lost feeling in my hands and had to have therapy. I had horrible migraines, terrible neck pain, and was going through all this. And so I also have cataracts in both eyes, and the one on my left is progressing faster, so it looks like I'm going through Vaseline on a lens. And I have some heart issues and high blood pressure. And there's a reason why I'm telling you all this. I have carpal tunnel in both hands and muscle loss and diminished gripping capabilities. The first time I encountered Miss Owens was February of 2022. I was about 7 weeks after the neck fusion, and she basically attacked me. And she threw the sign at me, and I thought, well, what? And is going on here. I didn't expect to be confronted like that. And I had a huge red scar on my neck at that point in time, and she's screaming at me, and she keeps coming closer and closer and closer. I'm backing up, and then she's trying to rip the cell phone out of my hands. Finally, I had to, say, you're trespassing, you really need to leave. And she picks up the sign, and she says, what, this fucking trespassing sign, and throws it at me. This is where she hit me. And I still have the red mark where she hit me. I've never ever dealt with someone who was that violent that quickly. And so I was terrified of this woman, literally terrified. I've never had anyone, the first time I've met them, throw something at me and get so physically abusive. But this woman kept coming after me. I had approached her because I was watering my plants, and she's going, oh, there's a crazy old white lady. And I'm like, you can't just go around saying someone's crazy. I mean, it was insanity. So I went to say something to her, and she verbally attacked me again. She's like, you've been calling my kids racist names and stuff. And I said, no, ma'am, I have not. And she kept getting angrier and angrier. The more I said no, the angrier she got. So finally I said, I was terrified. I mean, she went from a very relaxed position to a position here. I could see her neck veins starting to bulge. Her pulse is really getting, fast. And I'm thinking, she's going to beat the hell out of me right here in the street. So I said, listen, I'm sorry. If that's what you think I said, I'm very sorry. I don't mean to offend anybody. I didn't say it, but I'm sorry. I went to walk away, and she's following 1 foot behind me the whole time to my apartment till I slammed the door in the face. Again, never had anyone do anything that aberrant in my life.
After nearly 15 minutes, Lorincz finally offered an apology to the Owens family.
I would like to make a statement to AJ's mom, children, and friends. It is with heavy heart and great remorse I write this letter to you. First and foremost, I am so sorry that I took AJ's life. I never intended to kill her. The night I shot that gun, I was confused as to why she was screaming and pounding on my door. I had an idea that Israel told her I had hit him. I could not understand why she was so angry. And she truly scared me. Now that I know he told her I hit him, I am just profoundly sad. Not only did a mother die, but a daughter and a sister. I think of your family's loss and know how hard it is to lose someone you love. Not being able to see that person, look at that person, or just talk to that person is such an empty feeling. I so wish I could go back and change things so that she was still here. I would trade my life so that she could be here, if it were possible. I know that you have all suffered from her loss, and I have prayed for you and your family during this time so that you can, that God could help you. Nothing I can do will change the outcome. I can only tell you I have cried and I feel horrible for my actions. Please accept my humble and sincere apology for this tragedy.
The defense asked for time served, amounting to 538 days and probation for Lorincz. The prosecution and Owens' family asked for the maximum sentence of 30 years. Judge Robert Hodges said the defense proved Lorincz did suffer from PTSD, but not that the capacity of the defendant, Susan Lorincz, could appreciate the criminal nature of the conduct.
Despite the existence of one legitimate departure reason, even if she did qualify for the other two departure reasons, I would not depart in this case because I find that the aggravated nature of this case and this offense and the harm inflicted outweighs the mitigation or the departure when I weigh the totality of the whole case. So I find that the seriousness of the offense outweighs any legal departures that could be applied in this case. I'm primarily looking at the harm inflicted upon not only the victim, who of course lost her life, but her family. She has 4 children, all of whom were present during the events or somewhere in the general vicinity, or at least home. It certainly will have a traumatic impact on their lives for the rest of their lives. When I look at the nature of the offense, I find that the shooting was completely unnecessary in this case. Miss Lorincz was behind the door was locked. She had already called law enforcement. They were en route. She knew they were en route. She was in a relatively safe position. For some reason, she went into her room and found a gun. She could have stayed in the room and put another locked door between her and Miss Owens, but she came back out, put herself in front of the door, and at the time she fired the gun through the door, she was safe. Miss Owens was simply, although she was clearly banging loudly and was probably very angry over the whole situation, it appears to be she was mostly demanding that Miss Lorincz come outside, which would indicate she had no indication of coming inside the house. So when Miss Lorincz fired the gun through the door, she did so knowing a person was directly on the other side of the door.
Susan Lorincz now has 30 days to appeal the judge's decision. Reporting for Law&Crime, I'm Sierra Gillespie.